So on the earnings call, you said it could take years, not quarters, to get back to pre-COVID levels. But here's the thing. Your stock is up about 60% from the March lows on this hope of a vaccine hitting the market. Glenn, walk us through your working model. What happens the minute we get a vaccine made available to the masses? How quickly could we see a rebound in not just corporate travel demand, but leisure travel as well?
Well, I think that's a very interesting thing to say, because when a vaccine is approved, does not mean that immediately everybody gets it. And we've always said that the experts say that it's going to take time once it's approved to then be created and distributed. You're talking about hundreds of millions and then billions of vaccinations are going to be needed probably. So this is going to take a long time. So even with all the experts saying hopefully we'll have a vaccine, maybe even before the end of the year, certainly a lot of people hope by first quarter, that doesn't mean that everybody gets their shot tomorrow and everybody then feels safe to go travel, which is why we say it's not going to be quarters. It's going to be years for a recovery.
And you're preparing for that multi-year recovery. You're laying off 25% of your workforce. But I want to get your take on vacation rentals. Big debate taking place there. We're seeing explosive demand, as you saw as well in this quarter. Is the shift away from hotels to vacation rentals temporary or permanent? I spoke with the CEO of Expedia last week. He said it's more temporary in nature, that you'll see demand return for hotels in big cities. Where do you stand?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, hotels are not going away. And we talked in our earnings call in our second quarter, about 40% of our bookings were the alternative accommodations, which was a meaningful increase from previous periods. But the fact is, we don't expect hotels to go away. Here's the interesting thing, though. We've seen this trend for a long time of more and more people interested in alternative accommodations, which is why we've been going out and getting more and more supply in that area, because we realize that people are finding that as an attractive alternative for some types of travel. Certainly this pandemic has accelerated that trend. So we basically brought forward a lot of future growth for that type of accommodations. Now, the question is, next year or the year after, when there's no pandemic, do people then say, hey, I'm going back to the way I used to do it? I think this has given a boost that's going to continue. People have experienced the alternative accommodations, and I think they are now going to think, gee, I'm going to include that in my possibility set. In addition, with people now working away from the office so much more and comfortable with that, if you're working from home, you can work from a cabin by the mountain, by the lake. You can work from the beach, a condo or something there. So I see in the future people utilizing alternative accommodations for those short 3-week holidays where they work for Friday, but they're working from a home, because that's a lot more comfortable than a dual occupancy hotel room.
Glenn, it's Kelly here. You look like you're in maybe a cozy cabin of your own there. Maybe by a mountain, maybe by a lake. But what I was going to ask you goes back to what Seema mentioned. So 25% of your workforce reportedly you're cutting as you guys restructure. And you said you think this will be years, not quarters, of a rebound. When do you think you might need the pre-COVID levels of employment that you once had, if ever?
Well, Kelly, that's a very hard thing to project, and we're not trying to make projections that far out. We are building our business, resizing it for not only the business today, but what we think is, in the predictable future. That's really what we're doing. You saw those numbers in terms of the drop in our business, but we're certainly not cutting the employment levels anywhere near that. And that's because we are anticipating we will have a recovery over time. But I can't give you a projection in terms of how many people by when. But I can say I am very confident that in years we will have a recovery and we will be doing better than 2019 at some point in the future. I just can't say when.